This episode is sponsored by Kerkering Barberio, your trusted partner in tax, audit, and outsourced accounting services. Serving Sarasota, Manatee, and the greater Tampa Bay area for over 50 years, KB helps clients achieve their personal and business goals. Visit kbgrp.com to learn more. Hello and welcome to the Business Observer from the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, Managing Editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Veronica Thames, Executive Director of the Manatee Community Foundation. Veronica, thank you, and thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy to watch the previous episodes, and I'm excited to be amongst amazing people in the next one.
Awesome. Well, I know you and I keep running into each other at various networking events, sometimes with our kids and spouses, sometimes without, saying, you have to come on the podcast. You are finally on. This is great. So I know you're at the Manatee Community Foundation now, and I think it's about a year, almost a year.
Yeah, we'll be celebrating that in just 4 days.
We're in August here in Samir. Congratulations on that. But we're going to get into MCF and kind of what you do there. But before we get too deep in that, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've had a couple other roles in this area, but take us as far back as kind of where you're from and how you got to here to Florida.
For sure. So I'm an import, as some of my friends would like to say.
Import, yes.
I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I lived there and turned 19 on the plane ride over, courtesy of my dad's job, whom I hated at the time because he was uprooting me from my life, including college, my boyfriend, and all the plans I had as a city girl in Buenos Aires. And so we landed in the airport, doors in Miami opened, and the heat wave hit me and my hair froze up, and I said, here I am. And it was a challenging journey to be at that age range and start anew, learning, a new language and starting college. Really, I started 2 weeks after we moved. But it was the opportunity, the fork in the road, that allowed me to discover who I meant to be and allowed me to define that life mission I have, because I realized early in the game that you can just cry about your circumstance or you can do something about it. And you must never let it define you, but you must define your steps to make your world a better one. So I today consider it a privilege and a gift to have been brought to the U.S. at that age, and the opportunity to assimilate, respect, and absorb the culture so that I can, bring that of me and myself in Argentina, but also enrich my life with all of the amazing opportunities this country has to offer. So,
yeah, but you're 19, and that's a big transition, right? That's what you said. Your dad's job. What kind of work was your family or your dad in that led you to make such a big move?
He was in MIS, Management Information Systems, and he opened a worldwide headquarters for an organization in Delray Beach, Florida. So, we went from, downtown Buenos Aires, 11 million people, happening. Right. I could drive, could go anywhere I wanted, to Boca Raton.
Boca Raton, land of the 5 p.m. dinners. I have many relatives that I've been to Boca many times, growing up especially. So you get there, you get into college. Tell us a little bit about what you did as a young woman, kind of, as you mentioned, finding your way, finding your footing. What were some of the careers and jobs that you had?
So I went to Florida Atlantic University, Go Owls, for my undergrad, and Nova Southeastern University for my graduate degree, and worked at a law firm for a little bit. It was my first job, and then took a 50% pay cut to jump to work for an organization that had a high-level tuition reimbursement, because as a foreigner, I came to the country without college savings. That was not the plan all along, so I had to find a way to make it work. And just as I joined this organization and I worked in tax accounting, all the respect, not my cup of tea. It was wow, but it paid my bills, right? It paid my college. It allowed me to work full time. And then they decided to change the tuition reimbursement program, and so I had to cram my master's degree in a year and 2 months while working full time, which showed me a lot about what can happen if you set your mind to it. So I worked in tax accounting. Then I worked in healthcare for the most part, about 16 and a half years of healthcare experience at HCA and a bit before that at Tenet. I was headhunter over here by a firm that placed me in HCA, even though I was not looking to move at the time either. But I met the group here at Blake Medical Center, and we were talking about creating a trauma center, a burn center, and all these community needs that were unmet. And that was energizing to me. So I made the jump. And after that, I got relocated to California, still within HCA. And then I came back, still within HCA, and I left to take a leap of trust into philanthropy. That's when I went to Gulf Coast Community Foundation. Mark Pritchett was the CEO at the time, and he and I had partnered on what is today Career Edge. I became the employer partner for that initiative. And as Mark likes to say, he tried to reel me in a few times, and I always said no. And the last time I went into the Venice office to say no in person, and I walked away and I said, I've got to do this.
Yeah. Interesting, because Mark Pritchett is not the easiest person to say no to either. So good
That's
for
right.
you. He could be. I mean, I've never worked for him. I've written about him, but could be pretty relentless sometimes. And so I'm curious about the HCA. Tell us a little bit about that. At least at Blake, you're at Blake Memorial in West Bradenton during a heavy growth period, right? They were, as you mentioned, they were doing all these things, and for a while they were like a statewide leader. I'm sure they are to a certain extent now, but in terms of bringing on these new programs, I remember writing about some of those years ago. How did you handle that as HR? What were some of your responsibilities, and how do you hire nurses, doctors, physicians, all these people really fast? What were some of the things that you did?
It was a special time too to hire into that field. Well, I'll share that I was hired to be the VP of HR, but then very, very quickly I earned myself many other departments that became my responsibility. One of them was our childcare facility. A lot of administrative support departments. I also had the opportunity to do a couple of tours as interim chief operating officer. And one of the last things I did when I was there was I was the logistics officer for Hurricane Irma. We had about 2,000 people we were responsible for that I had to get bedded and fed and cared for during a storm. So I got to learn a lot in healthcare beyond the HR realm, but specific to that, opening a burn business line was a true challenge. I remember we finally get to the point to get support from the state to open our burn center. And they say, there's one thing we need to change. You can open in 28 days, but one thing we need to change. You need a fully staffed call for pediatric cases. And so that gave me 28 days to get a full-time complement of ICU trained pediatric nurses.
Yeah.
Biggest recruitment challenge of my life. It ended up being about 42 people that we needed to
Really,
make
42 people in that period of time. Wow.
And establishing a call schedule and incentivizing folks to consider taking call, and we made it happen.
You must have had the elevator pitch for Blake down pat. This is what you could live on the beach, and you could, I'm sure there's a lot more than that, obviously, but you must have had that down really well.
I did. It was about the lives being changed. It
Yeah.
was about the fact that this was the only burn center in half the state. Um, and those are the most difficult patients to
Yeah.
treat,
Oh, sure.
burn victims. But it was a privilege to be part of a incredible team at the time that grew and brought services our community lacked. In HCA, again, as I like to say, the smartest people in healthcare. I tried to leave. I went to Gulf Coast, right, and then Bob Mead, our amazing CEO at Doctors of Sarasota, brought me on board, and I got to be on the board for a few years and share that board as well. So I feel like you can never really leave healthcare.
Yes. Always reeled in some way. So you mentioned Hurricane Irma. You've had in your careers, we've all gone through different things, but you've been frontline, the hurricane there, another hurricane, COVID. And I've heard you talk a little bit publicly about sort of self-care and why that's important. How did you handle those pressures, right? You mentioned you got to feed 2,000 people and then COVID and different things. So how have you handled all these pressure cooking situations that you've been in before?
Um, I probably could have handled them better. I was great about giving others advice and providing for others mental health and space and sleeping, and not the greatest on myself. But I think I thrive in moments of emergency, and that drives me. And the greater good and saving, helping, supporting is as motivational to me. So it's going to sound disturbing, but one of my favorite moments was during Hurricane Irma. The medical arts building was hosting families. We were the only hospital that was hosting employee families during Irma in the entire region. So we had 305 family members. We had 106 pets, all in the MOB, the office building. And the power went out, and then the backup generator to that building went out. And it was the middle of the storm, and we had to evacuate the building, 5-story building without lights. By creating plans that can, and in that case, rescue these folks from this space, it's exhilarating to me. Let's look at the logistics. Let's find the missing pieces and how do you make it happen? And
Yes.
we succeeded.
So, okay, so Veronica, so you've done these, really high pressure things. I think that shows why you are such a great mom because you got to be prepared all the time. As we record here in mid-August, switching gears, your daughter, where is she? First grade now?
Second grade.
Second grade. How did everything go at the beginning of second grade?
Fantastic. She loves school. She actually woke up at 5 in the morning, put her uniform on, did her own hair, and came over and said, "I'm ready to go. Let's go."
Excellent. Excellent. Good win there. Okay, so we're going to forward back to your career. You're at the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, and then at some point, obviously, an opportunity with the Manatee Community Foundation opened up. Tell us about that role and kind of how you, what resonated in that with you and why you wanted to go over to the Manatee Community Foundation.
Well, I had a wonderful experience at Gulf Coast with an amazing team and leaders and our board and staff, and learned about the power of philanthropy, and watched a lot of incredibly dedicated people in that field, like Terry Hansen and Roxy Jerde, and certainly mentioned Mark Pritchett. And I was inspired by them, inspired to have a greater impact, to amplify philanthropy in Manatee County. And when I first went into philanthropy, I thought that the very meaning of it was to support humankind, right? And it was to be in a place of greater need and least resource. And when I look at Manatee County and I think about the opportunities that we have to elevate our community, I think about the fact that the population is growing at the speed of light. and that by 2030 we'll have a larger population than even our neighbors to the south. I look at our Hispanic Latino population growth in this area, which is between 25 and 30% of our total. Very different story than 10 years ago. And that tells me here is where I can have the greatest impact, because the needs are greater and the resources are less. And yet the incredible support of our board, the partnership between community organizations, the synergy that exists, and the willingness and authenticity of people to work together to improve our community is unprecedented to me. And it's what powers me through any challenge, is to know that there's that synergy and that interest. So elevating philanthropy, creating an ultra philanthropic region is it's a dream, and this is my home too. So I'd love to see it thrive even further. And I stand on the shoulders of amazing women that came before me, and Susie Bowie and Marilyn Howard, and an incredible board that provides a lot of support to our team. So it was an unexpected and yet appealing opportunity.
Yeah, double opportunity. Lots of that there for sure. As you mentioned, Manatee County growing significantly. So looking back at your career, the different sort of places you've been, what stands out to you as far as leadership in terms of leadership characteristics? What makes a good leader to you?
Someone who is inspirational, collaborative, positively influential, someone who can cast a vision that motivates others, but yet also execute on that vision. An entrepreneurial and innovative spirit, because we must always be evolving to stay at our best. A learning leader, somebody with grit and passion to counter any obstacle. And as I like to tell our team, we don't talk about problems, we talk about opportunities, because in every challenge there is such opportunity. We just have to find it. And that's what I would say. And I'll do a little plug here. If you are a person with all those skills and characteristics, we are recruiting for a vice president of philanthropy, and in the future for a director of philanthropy, because our board recognizes we need to grow our team to amplify our impact and to meet those growing needs of our community. So please visit us at manateecf.org for more.
Awesome. ManateeCF.org for more on some amazing job opportunities. And you talked about some of your mentors and some, Susie and Marilyn, some of the other people that have been involved in this space. What is, maybe from them or other people, maybe as far back as your father, but what is some leadership advice that you have gotten over the years that resonates with you?
I'll take you way back. One of the first things that really stuck with me from a leadership perspective, I was 24. I'd just gotten my first management role. I was a manager of human resources at a 3,300 employee hospital, a trauma level 2 center in the East Coast. I signed up for that job because I wanted to grow up to be a Janice Moscato. Janice was the VP of HR, and she led a 10-person team and an incredible operation across 2 hospital campus. And Janice left me. Janice left me 2 months into the job to follow a leader that she admired. And at the time, my CEO, Mitch Feldman, pulled me aside and said, "Kid, I know you just got here and you have no management or healthcare experience, but all that you lack in experience, you have in fire in your belly. I'm making you interim. Let's see what happens." And I said, "Sir, so long as we both understand I can screw a lot of things up, I'm going to give it my all." And he said, "I know you will not fail." And it was baptism by fire. To be in that leadership team for the first time without any experience, and to be given that opportunity. And so I learned so much from him. about spotting talent, about believing in people, about staying the course, never giving up, and truly, ultimately, which I learned much later in life, be who you're meant to be. We have that saying everyone else has already taken. Embrace who you are and be authentic. And I learned so much of that from Mitch and his belief in me and his investment in me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've learned as a leader and manager over the years, giving confidence to somebody, boosting them, being a cheerleader. It sounds corny, cheesy, but it really goes a long way to helping them get over that. I can't possibly do this. You can do this, and they turn out to be great at it. And that's a small thing that I think goes a long way. I've learned.
That's right, and I think growing up in a Hispanic Latino community and culture, the values and the pressure to be perfect, to be very ladylike, to be very appropriate, to know your place, and to come here and discover that you can and should be everything you are meant to be. In a land of opportunity, whether you need to navigate a good old boys club, or you need to navigate some discrimination, or you need to navigate political issues, it can be done. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Definitely. What's a setback, a failure, a do-over? What's something that's happened in your career that you learned a lot from that stands out today?
A lot of things. Let's see. Setback. Well, I'll tell you a funny and then I'll tell you a serious. So in this very first leadership role, I was, again, 24. I had my first leadership team meeting. And I was going to be surrounded by people who are extremely experienced, much older than I was. And I'm in the restroom getting ready and about to cross the entire hospital campus to get to that meeting room. And I see a employee lifting these boxes up. I just couldn't help myself. I grabbed some boxes and I pulled them up real quick on my way there. And as I'm doing that, I hear the most horrible sound. It was my pants. They were splitting. So my pants completely split. I am now short of time because I decided to stop and help this person lift boxes. So I ran into a bathroom and I asked somebody for a stapler. I stapled my pants shut, put them back on, very carefully walked across the hospital, and I sat even more carefully to be part of that leadership team.
Wardrobe malfunction averted. Yeah.
And so I think what that taught me early in the game is that if you fail forward. If something happens that's unexpected, a challenge, there's always a way around it. You can always get to your goal. Just never stop and wallow. Instead, look forward and take that next step. But I think major things, don't get ahead of your board. It's very typical of CEOs of organizations to have this vision and run toward it and bring your board along. Trusting blindly has been a mistake I've made a couple of times, where I expect and hope that everyone comes from the same place of goodwill and pure intention, and then to discover that's not the case is pretty sad and sobering. So take measured risks and be thoughtful. Get to know the people around you. Surround yourself with the very, very best, smarter people than you to be your scaffolding. Yes, I've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm sure I still have yet a lot to learn too.
Yeah, we all do. What can we expect as we're getting into the fourth quarter here? What can we expect from Manatee Community Foundation, the rest of this year into next year in terms of programs, announcements, things that are coming up?
Well, I'm very grateful to our board who approved a budget that allows us to grow. I will be recruiting the VP of Philanthropy and a Director of Philanthropy and growing our team so that we can do the three things community foundations do, which are improve the quality of life of the communities we serve through grants, scholarships, programs, and convenings, to meet the needs of our donors by just helping them discover their passions and align them with meaningful causes and help them execute on their philanthropic dreams. And to support our nonprofit partners who are the boots on the ground that deliver the many service our community needs. So to execute on our mission at an amplified level with a growing team, you can expect our community foundation to continue our initiatives. We've poured some dollars and thoughts around Reach Manatee, which is designating resources to ensure high school and college graduation. We have a big initiative. We formed the Manatee Childcare Alliance, and we are endeavoring to help resolve the childcare crisis in our region. We have surveyed employers and providers, and we've realized that there's a will to open more spots, and there's a long waiting list of children that need that care. But we need to make it affordable, available, and program rich. So we're endeavoring to create structure around that. We'll continue our scholarship rounds. We'll continue our grant rounds. We just opened a couple weeks ago the Disaster Recovery Fund and have already granted to several organizations. And you can expect to continue to see more new things around the Latina Collaborative that we formed with Unidos Now, and a lot more partnerships thanks to incredible organizations like the Charles and Marjorie Bransik Foundation and the Bishop Parker Foundation, who both support MCF operations and also partner with us in initiatives in Manatee County.
A lot of stuff happening. Excellent. Veronica, before we let you go, we got 3 rapid fire questions for you. All right. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Bon Jovi.
Ooh, Bon Jovi. Awesome.
Yeah.
Starting rocking out. I like it.
Absolutely.
Beach or mountain vacation?
Beach all day.
Beach. Even though we live in Florida, most people answer beach to that question. Beach all
day long. My favorite place is Middle Caicos. It's just amazing there.
Interesting. And last question, how many unread emails do you have right now?
Oh, goodness gracious. Do you really want to know? I'm cutting back. I only have 114 that came today.
Okay. Well, we're recording. It's mid-afternoon, so that's pretty good. Excellent. Veronica Thames, Manatee Community Foundation, thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for the time. Wishing the best to everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordy. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.